Welcome to my channel. My name is Jason Beam. Most people call me Beamer, except for my wife. I prefer Beamer, so call me Beamer. I like that. I figured I'd give you guys an introduction to my channel, my YouTube channel, and kind of give you an idea of what you can expect to find here. I am primarily a woodworker, but I also dabble in metal working, machining, welding, pretty much anything to do with making stuff, fabrication. I like making things. I like working with my hands. A little bit of history, I guess. My day job is writing websites, building web applications, and so I spend a lot of time at a keyboard. Building, it's construction. I think it exercises the same side of the brain. Or similar, at least same mechanisms within your brain. Writing software, but you spend all day making things that don't exist and that won't really be all that impactful in 10 years. They just don't last. Software moves a lot faster, and it's virtual and it's not tangible. And so I've had this desire kind of all my life to build something that'll last, build things that will outlive me in a way. So that's kind of where that inspiration and motivation comes from. I want to build things to last. Most of what I do is me figuring out how to do things well. Self-taught. This isn't very coherent. In my mind, we should leave the world better than we got it. And my way of doing that is building things that should, with any luck, outlive me. Though not by very much, hopefully. But the ideas and the projects that I build have that in mind. There's a lot of effort put towards doing things well, doing things with longevity in mind. So for the most part, what I build is it's transient. It depends on what part of my life you look at. Today I'm into something different than I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I built my shop thanks to a very understanding wife, the best wife. And she allows me the time to explore, because that's kind of what I need to do in my mind. My brain needs to chew on things, figure out puzzles and problems and solving stuff. So I spend a lot of time maybe reinventing wheels in some cases. Sometimes it's exploration. I'm just building things to see if I can do it. That happened a few times in building the shop. But from an overview standpoint, I get into a little bit of everything. I started out woodworking in 2004 only because I had never had a better place or better capability or better, what's the word? I started woodworking in 2004 when I finally, I like to say I had 30 years of want before I had a chance to get into a shop or have some tools that I could build things with. Prior to that, I had moved around a lot and just didn't have any roots. And so it's kind of hard to traipse about the countryside and carry a table saw on your back. So I finally got a shop together in 2004 and made it my quest to replace all of the particle board in my house. I got into woodworking thinking I could build this awesome furniture for way cheaper than I could buy it, which is kind of true, but where I was looking and comparing prices to what I was building, didn't align. You can't compete on price with mass-produced furniture. You just can't do it. A single woodworking dude just isn't going to be able to buy the wood cheaper than they can mass-produce 500 coffee tables. And that was my misalignment there. I had thought, oh man, $300 for just the wood. But the perspective shift was, I can build way better than that. You know, the not race to the bottom furniture sources, places that actually do have craftsmen making furniture. Those guys, I can't compete, still can't compete on price, but I can make stuff as good as those guys, if not better, if I apply myself. And it'll be my way, it'll be custom. So what are you going to see in this channel? You're going to see pretty much me walking out to the shop, hitting record, and whatever I'm working on that day is going to get footage. And then I suppose the other half of that is you'll see it when I finally get around to editing it and putting it together. For the most part, I do project builds. So there's a series of videos for a build of a specific project. And I have a philosophical angle with my videos that I feel is unique. I don't see it very often. I do see it in some other crafts, but I don't see it as often in the woodworking side of things. There are some that do it, but I'm not claiming uniqueness, but I don't think that it's as common. And that is, what you see is what it took to make the project. You don't get snippets and glimpses of the steps. You get the whole workflow, every bit of it. Very little gets edited out. The boring stuff, because there's always boring stuff, the boring stuff I speed up usually and play some music behind it. But I keep it because I feel like when I was learning how to do this stuff, and I will apply that I was learning well before I got a shop. I was learning when I was 8 years old, getting up in the morning and watching New Yankee Workshop on public television. I would go out of my way to spend that time to watch that show and watch Norm build things. I love watching the way things work. I love watching the things get put together. I love watching what goes into creating something. Especially mechanical things, I like that. So the problem I had always had, and I truly did feel this way pretty deep down for a very long time, is everything gets edited, everything for television, and that's the nice thing about YouTube. Everything for television gets ADD'd down for people, and you get, I'm going to need a jig, camera blip, and there's a jig. They didn't even show making the jig. So I don't, in my videos, you will see the jig get made. You will see the jig fail, and you will see the mistakes and the fixes, and sometimes you go through the painful process of thinking through the project, thinking through the task at hand. I feel like I'm going to learn more from that. If I saw that more, I feel as though I would have been surprised less when I started doing it myself. When I started to do this myself, some of the things that would happen is I'd hit this snag and I had never seen anybody solve problems. They were wrote step by step by step. Well, if you're on a 10-step list and at step 3 something goes unexpected, you can't move on. You can't just keep marching through the steps. You have to solve step 3. And I'd never seen anybody present that before. So I had to figure it out. I still figure it out. I have to figure that out. Everybody has to figure this out. This isn't unique. We all have to go through this. Everybody has to sit and ponder the mistake, the unexpected outcome, the error, the failures. And so I'm very firmly of the idea that don't be afraid to mess up. That's where you learn everything. If you nail it the first time, you have no idea how it worked. You don't know why you nailed it. Most of the time, if you've never done something before and you try one time and it works right away, you didn't learn much. You learned that you could do it, you learned that it's possible, but you don't learn as much about why it worked and how that success was created. You just marched the steps, and by luck, they all worked out the way they were supposed to. But what if something fails? Then what you get is, one, that not everything goes the way it's supposed to, and two, how to find your way back. Finding that exploration is, I grant you that it's not for everybody. Not everybody's into the journey. I'm very much a journey person, not a destination person. I like the destination. The destination is great. It's the reason I go on the journey. But I enjoy every step of the journey as well. And I think somebody else likes that. One other person on the planet might like that. I hope they find this channel, because it's what I'm doing. It's what I want to show, is how you get there. Not just, I got some wood, presto changeo, here's a project. I'm not into that. There's plenty of others that do that just fine, and I no intention of competing with them, and they're fantastic. They do a fantastic job at it. In my videos, I want to show the struggle, which sounds negative, but it's not. Learning is a struggle, and that struggle excites some people. That struggle terrifies other people, and that's perfectly fine. There are subjects about which the struggle terrifies me. Some of those you'll see, because there are pieces of woodworking that I absolutely hate. Finishing, I hate finishing. So that's a struggle that isn't as pleasant, but it's a necessary struggle. So you'll see those. That's part of it. You'll see my mechanisms for making sure I do this, or making sure I finish that, or making sure that process gets done as well as I can, despite motivational problems or a lack of desire for it, just not being into it. There's a lot of things that'll do that, and then there's some that you'll see me completely avoid what everybody else says is the easy way to do it, because I just don't want to learn how to do it that way. I do things a little differently. I think everybody does things a little differently, and for themselves, and fits for themselves. There's no one answer. There's no broad brush. Nothing is ever, the only generalization that is ever false 100% of the time is the one I just made. They're all false, all generalizations. I'm very, one of the things you won't hear, or if you do, I need to be called out for it. I don't want to do it. I try very hard not to paint with a broad brush. I try to say, in this case, in this situation, this is a good answer. But there could be 700 other ways. That's the coolest thing about building things. In any medium, wood, metal, anything, there's always a bunch of ways to do it. You're going to see the ways I choose to explore. Because you won't even see my one way. I have a dozen ways, and I'm going to try them all because I want to learn how to do it a bunch of ways. Because I think that if you I believe that if you accept that there's no such thing as one way, and that there is a bunch of ways, you'll find that the one way works for one situation, and another way that is just as valid works better in another situation. So I aim to show stuff like that. So subjects that you're going to see, subjects that I'll film for the most part will be surrounding making projects for myself most of the time. Once in a while I do a few projects for others, but for the most part 99% of what I do is for my projects, for my things, for what I'm making for myself, or for gifts. The subject matter you're going to see. So I definitely am into building furniture. You'll see whatever it takes to make those pieces of furniture, not just cutting up wood and making joints. I am more than happy to dive into manufacturing my own metallic pieces, my own hardware sometimes. Drawer pulls, door handles, hinges, any other sorts of mechanisms that if I have the capability to make it and it would be a better fit than something you can buy off the shelf or cheaper than you can buy off the shelf, or I just want to make something. So not just in furniture itself, the process of building furniture, you'll also see the process of building the jigs that I don't have yet to build that furniture, to cut that particular joint, to make that particular part. So things you'll see, furniture, some construction stuff. We work on our house from time to time, and I do stuff for that. I would be remiss if I left those out, because sometimes those are 6 or 8 month long projects that are all I'm doing in the shop. So you'll get some of those. I also like to build hand tools sometimes. I've built a few spoke shaves. I like building jigs. You'll see a lot of jigs. I like building machines. I built a CNC router that I use to this day that's remarkably reliable and surprisingly reliable for something I've made. So you'll see CNC work. But at the same time, you're going to see, I'll take a part off the CNC and run a hand plane over it immediately. There is no division, there's no boundaries here. Every tool is a valid tool for a given situation. If that situation presents itself, then that's the right tool for the job. Okay, so I'll give you an idea of what you're going to see in this channel. There's going to be metalworking, woodworking, sometimes some wood machining, sometimes some welding, some woodworking in various disciplines of woodworking. And if that means there's some plastic involved, or I'm not really beholden to any materials, but I love working with wood, so that'll probably be the majority of what you'll see. I am not a hand tool woodworker. I am not a power tool woodworker. I'm a woodworker, which means I use hands and power tools. I use my computers. I use CNC. I'll jump over to the metalworking area and build a very quick little jig if it'll help me to hand plane something faster, or CNC something easier, or hold something better, or fixture something, or guide my saws. There's nothing in this shop that I won't use to accomplish a task just out of dogma. My only dogma is that I want to build something, and if that thing can cut it, or that thing can cut it, I'll use it for that, whichever. I won't abuse my tools if I can help it, but once in a while, a blade will be sacrificed, usually unintentionally when I run the CNC into a vise, for example. There's a lot of projects coming, but just in general, there's going to be furniture to be built. I've recently built my first guitar and fell in love with building guitars, so there's definitely lutherie on the docket, not just what's already up in the channel, but I will be building more guitars because they are fun. But that isn't the only thing I'm going to be building. One project could be a guitar, one project could be a dresser, a bed, a shed for the backyard. I like exploring the physics behind everything that gets built, so I'm a nut for how things get made, and I love to chase down how to make something work. So that's always fun. So you'll see a lot of that. My philosophy is not to leave anything out, which means you will probably have to sit through some boring head scratching that I do sometimes. I try not to make it too boring, but I'm not interested in appealing to a mass market. I'm interested in sharing my experience in the hopes that it helps somebody coming up. If you're new, one of the things you don't know is what you don't know. You don't know what's missing. You don't know what to ask. To require you to find the information on your own without some exposure to stuff is asinine to me. So I think for novices, being shown, regardless of how many times the regulars have seen it or how many times you've seen it, being shown the same process or the same task repeatedly drives it home for people. or not everybody watches every video, so I try to keep in as much detail as I can. I will try to keep them down in the half-hour range, somewhere around there, but sometimes they get longer and sometimes they're shorter. I'm not going to subscribe to the YouTube likes to tell you, oh, make your videos really short, or make them jump around, don't stay on one scene for too long, or I'm breaking the rules when it comes to photography or videography, but it's okay, because I think I want you to feel more like you're just somebody in the shop observing, not being spoon-fed information as it's tailored to be spoon-fed. You're hanging out in the shop, and sometimes there's going to be some boring stuff. Sometimes there's going to be some exciting stuff. I try my best to remember that you're here with me and make sure that you can see what's important. But sometimes you're stuck across the corner, off in the corner, and watching the whole overall effect. I'll do that as long as it's interesting for me. We'll see where it takes us. I don't really have a huge plan, but I wanted to let people know that the motivation here is to share one guy's experience at making anything I want to make. I'm not looking to sensationalize. I'm not looking to I'm not trolling for views. I want a lot of views, sure, but I want the content to be the reason you watch, not I don't want to go viral or the outlandish things or do dangerous things. I want to build stuff, and for people who that truly interests, being flashy and outlandish does not appeal. At least coming from this guy. In fact, there's a lot of videos out there showing you how to build what I'm going to show you how to build. And they're going to easily be shorter by almost every guaranteed account. Because I'm going to take you through the process that it takes to make something. And nothing in my shop takes 2 minutes to make or 10 minutes to make, unless it's incredibly simple. And yeah, if you're watching the video, you're watching the work that goes into it, and that to me is important. It's the only way I can see being useful. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's important to show you every part of the process, including the boring shit. I don't have a catchphrase yet. I should probably come up with a catchphrase. I don't have one. Keep your stick on the ice is taken. And so long for now is taken. Don't forget to be awesome. It's a great one. I should probably come up with something. I don't have one. Go, make it. Yes, there are ads on my channel, and it serves mostly as a to kind of recoup some of the costs in the video and the audio equipment and that sort of thing. So if you're really into what I'm putting out and you want to support me and my channel, I've also set up a Patreon account. You know, if you want to support, it's not paid content. All the content's free. You don't have to show up. You don't have to do the Patreon thing. You can, in fact, you can ignore that I even have it. Forget it, because it's really cool that you're into what I'm doing, and the comments and the subscriptions, those are most motivating. They give me a reason to keep doing this, other than the desire to get the information out and share. That you guys are enjoying it, that you guys see it and get something out of it, that's most important. But if you want to support me through Patreon, that would be very good. That would be great. There's a link down in the, what do they call it, the doobly-doo. I've also, you can follow me on Twitter. Facebook is kind of a personal thing. I'm a little more selective there, but follow me on Twitter for sure. I post on Reddit. I own a woodworking forum that I manage and keep going. The guys there are great. You can check that out. It's where I started, and the group has been there while I've grown in my capabilities. I started out asking a lot of questions. Now I answer a lot of questions. Now we need more people asking questions. So by all means, join the forum, ask questions. So if you've got questions, by all means, send me a message on YouTube, comment down below, or on any of my channel videos, on any of my videos. I'm not asking for anything in return. I like it when you view them. I like it when you share them, tell your friends about stuff. I like seeing those numbers. I'm kind of a nerd. I like statistic numbers moving up. That's great. But if you like the content, let people know. Find other people that would like it. Tell them about it. Because if nobody's watching, there's no point in me doing it. So the more you watch, the better. I have to be careful. I get a lot of hobby overload. I resist buying tools that will expand my horizons into other interests or into further interests. But usually if it's something I'm resisting, I end up getting it eventually. I end up getting into it eventually. So, hey, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, donate a little to Patreon if you like. Join the forum and check it out. I think you'd find some interesting, helpful people there. Follow me on Twitter. I just started twattering. I just started the Tweety. So that's growing slowly as I find things that I think are tweetworthy. Tweeting. I'm still learning how to Twitter. How to twatter, tweeter, tweeter, twatter. How to tweet. Tweet. How to tweet. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for watching and go make it.